Hi, welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera, Season 3. This season has been shaping up so well. We've had 14 guests who specialize in different music realms, ranging from jazz fusion to blues, Latin pop, and even Bollywood for the first time. There's rock, hip hop, dance hall, and reggae music. These include three festival and concert edition podcasts for the Mahindra Blues Festival, Oddball, and Scott Henderson's Bangalore tour. This season promises to bring in the best music interview podcasts like never before. I really would like to take a moment to appreciate everyone's support, everyone who's been diligently watching all of these episodes. And if you haven't subscribed, you know what to do. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can feel free to leave an honest review about the show. So, the past couple of weeks have been very eventful, and here's a sneak peek of some of the concerts I attended over the past couple of weeks. Starting with Tigran Hamasyan, live from the Oddball Festival that happened at the Phoenix Market City in Bengaluru on the 24th February 2024. Second concert I got to attend was called India Jazz Up, featuring Trilok Gurtu, Paolo Frezu, and Rita Marcotuli. It happened at a wonderful auditorium called the Prestige Srihari Khodi Center. You gotta check out a sneak peek of this video. It'll blow your mind. After the concert, I also got to meet these maestros backstage and personally invite them to be part of the podcast. We'll find out shortly if they'll be able to make it. Next up, I was specially invited by Swaminathan Selva Ganesh, who's the grandson of the legendary Vikku Vinayak Ram of Shakti. He invited me to check out a very exclusive rehearsal session for the Mahindra Percussion Festival, which happened in Bangalore, featuring his Ghatam Symphony Orchestra. And here's a glimpse of the same. This happened on the 22nd March 2024. Never in my wildest dream did I imagine that I'd be seeing a Gattam Symphony live, and that too Vikuji of Shakti curating it. It's just I just need to pinch myself to believe that this happened, right? I got to attend day 1 and day 2 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival. Here's a video from day 2 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival featuring Tawfiq G's group Surya, that featured Abi Nayampally on guitar, Shikhar Qureshi on drums and percussion, Sarang Kulkarni on the sarod, and Kaushiki Joglekar on keyboard. This video is just extraordinary. So this was the headliner set on day 2. After day 1 of the Mahindra Percussion Festival, Vikuji's Gattam Symphony Orchestra was easily the highlight for me. Post the concert, I got to meet them backstage. This time I got to meet Uma Shankarji, who is Vikuji's son. And I also got to personally greet Vikuji for everything he's been doing for generations now. And yeah, there's a third generation which is ongoing. His grandson is spearheading this movement. Felt so nice watching all of them. And another lady, very interesting personality, probably one of the first Gattam players in India, who's Vikuji's disciple again, Sukanya Ram Gopal. So I got to interact with them for a couple of hours, and it was a surreal experience. After Surya's headlining set at the Mahindra Percussion Festival on day 2, I had the chance to personally meet Tawfiq Ji, and he was delighted to finally meet me after our interaction on this year's podcast episode for the Mahindra Percussion Festival, which will be coming out very shortly. Last weekend, I got to witness a 2-day extravaganza curated by NCPA. I'm talking about the National Center for the Performing Arts, Mumbai. And they were in Bangalore for the very first time. They had the Symphony Orchestra of India on day 1, who mesmerized me by playing a couple of their standard classical tunes that featured Mozart symphonies, Bach symphonies, and the highlight of the evening for me was when they played the Harry Potter medley. It was for close to about 5 minutes, and they did it in their own inimitable style. It was just fabulous. And post that, they played the Pirates of the Caribbean medley, followed by a lot of Bollywood Indian mashup tunes, uh, which had a couple of popular numbers. And they closed their set by playing A.R. Rahman's Jai Ho. What a night. And later they had the Unerased Poetry, featuring 3 incredible poets who did their routines from different parts of the country. Day 2 of NCPA at the Freedom Park was even better. The evening opened with an Odissi dance performance by the Srajan Ensemble. The performance included improvised movements from the Natya Shastra. It had a tribute to Adi Guru Shankaracharya, a depiction of the image of Shiva and Parvati. Some of the rags in terms of the music that were used were in Kirvani Madhurima, and the Adi Tal Jati. Their coordination together as a unit was impeccable, and some of the formations and the mudras that they were trying to showcase left me spellbound. The evening just didn't end with the Odyssey dance performance, but there was Darren Das, who would put up a wonderful musical night for all of us, making us shake a leg with retro and dance numbers, a lot of ABBA, Boney M, and even Brian Adams. So he made us dance the night away. I'd like to give my friend Ashish Gatak a very special shout out for putting together a wonderful autobiography of Shankar Mahadevan ji. This book is called The Musical Maverick. As you can see, a lot of attention to detail has gone, even in terms of designing the cover of the book. The pink and the black color schemes blend in so well together. And I haven't heard of many Indian writers write autobiographies of our Indian musical contemporaries in the past couple of years. So kudos to Ashish for putting in so much effort, so much time in terms of understanding his subject and coming up with this wonderful autobiography. So, to show him your love and support, the best way you can do it is by picking up a copy of the book. You'll find it at a landmark store all over the country. Or if you're a fan of Kindle, there's a Kindle edition too. If you'd like to purchase the book online, you can always go to an amazon.in and pick up your personalized copy of The Musical Maverick by Ashish Gatak.
Hi guys, I'm Matteo Mancuso and you're listening to Stalwarts of Music.
Hi, Matteo. Namaste. Welcome to Stalwarts of Music with Aditya Veera. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Where are you right now? What are you up to these days?
Right now I'm in Sicily. I just finished the American tour and March is free for me, so no
Okay.
gigs, no commitments or whatsoever. But I will go back touring again in April. I
All
have
right.
some gigs in England.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now I'm just relaxing a little bit, writing
Okay.
some new tunes, yeah.
Marvelous, man. In fact, speaking of Italy, we had Mr. Paolo Fresu, who played last week in my city, Bangalore. So we had Paolo Fresu, we had Rita Marcotulli, and we had Trilo Gurtu. They did a wonderful fusion set. Yeah.
Great.
In fact, it was hosted by the Italian embassy. The Italian embassy hosted this wonderful music event probably last Sunday, and
Oh wow, great.
Yeah, you should come down to India too, man. You have a huge fan base in the country.
Wow, great. I've never been to India. I hope to
You should.
come here maybe this year. Yeah.
Yes,
Who
yes,
knows?
indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So I have a couple of very interesting questions as part of our agenda today. Shall we get started?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Matteo, looking back on your musical journey, what do you consider to be the most significant milestones that have shaped your evolution as an artist? And how have these pivotal moments influenced your artistic direction and growth?
Well, talking about milestones, I think one thing that stuck with me was the experiences I had playing live with my trio. So I think an experience that helped me to grow as a musician and as a person also
Okay.
was playing a lot live, actually. Playing also with people that are better than you in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in order to grow in a very fast way, you need to play with people that are better than you, I think. Yeah, I'm not I'm not saying that they need to be better than you in everything. They can
Right.
be better than you maybe in doing one thing,
Correct.
but that one thing can grow you as a person and as a musician also. So I think one experience that I think was one of the most important for me was playing with Aldi Meola in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I played two tunes with him, and they were like Mediterranean Sundance and
Okay.
Spain, one of
Okay.
his most famous, basically.
Right.
And playing with him, this kind of tunes was kind of legendary for me. It was a dream came true. But then I saw also the simplicity of Al and the human being behind the player,
Yeah.
and he's such a wonderful person. And I remember that I reminded myself that it's way more important rather than just being a good musician. It's really important to also being a good person with people, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how far you achieve in life. It's very important to do that.
Okay.
So when I met people like Aldi Meola and Steve Vai, for example, is another example. This is a milestone that I would like to achieve, of course. Being very good human being, uh, being able to surround myself with good people, good musicians. Yeah.
Lovely. From whatever you said, you highlighted the fact that you need to be a good human being to make good music, right?
Yeah,
And
I think so. Yeah, I think it's way more important to just being a good person rather than just an incredible player, and then you are bad with people.
correct.
That doesn't make any sense, you know. And especially in the jazz community, you are meant to create music with other people, not just
Mm-hmm.
yourself. That's why it's important to be a good person for me.
Marvelous. And speaking of Val Di Meola, I've been wanting to have him on the show for a very long time, but I have featured his colleague on my show, Mr. Philip Says.
Ah, sorry.
Philip Says.
I don't know him.
He plays keyboard for Al.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So in fact, Philip had a band with Simon Phillips and Pino Palladino. They were called PSP.
Wow, great.
You should check them out.
Yeah, great. Yeah, be check me out.
Yeah. Of course, you did highlight the fact that it was indeed a defining moment. But I would like to know a defining moment that significantly shaped your character as a guitar player and as an individual.
Well, a great moment for me. Um, I think one of the most significant moments in my career
Mm-hmm.
was playing with the PFM. It's a very popular band from Italy.
Correct.
They
Correct.
play, yeah, Premiata Forneria Marconi.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
full name actually. PFM is the
I'm aware.
acronym. Yeah, and I think it was the first time I was playing outside of my trio. So
Mm-hmm.
I was not the band leader there, of course. I was just the guitar player of the
Okay.
band. And the
Okay.
band was like seven elements. So I was like, it was the first time that I was part of something bigger. And I was like, I was not the protagonist there, you know?
Right.
So being able to do that and to do that live with them, because Marcos Foggi was not available. Marcos Foggi is their current guitar player,
Mm-hmm.
and he was not available for one gig. And for this one gig, they called me as a substitute for
Okay.
Marco.
Okay.
And it was in August 2022.
Mm.
And that was, yeah, I remember, yeah, August 2022. And that was, I think, one of the most important gigs for me because the repertoire was really broad, was more like prog rock kind of stuff. but
Lovely.
there were also tunes with acoustic guitar, um, uh, pop tunes also, because PFM has an incredibly wide repertoire. And I think for me it was a really important, it was a game changer for me, because after the gig, I I was aware, okay, uh, I can also do the job as a session musician rather than just be a, a solo player, you know. And that was
Correct.
very important for me, because I think it changed the way I see myself also as a player, because it
Mhm.
was kind of the first important gig as a session player, let's say, even if the guitar in the PFM is really prominent in the tunes. So you are still a protagonist in a way. I had a lot of solos, for example, during the gig,
Uh,
but it wasn't my gig, you know. It was PFM gig with Matteo Mancuso on guitar, and that was really important for me, because you know, I'm always with my trio and I always the band leader, and that was I think one of the first times that I was able to step away a little bit and just being the guitar player. It was fun for me, and it reminded myself that you have to work on a lot of different ways, not only on your soloing skills, you know. um, so I think for me, that was a game changer experience for sure.
Lovely. Uh, as a guitarist, you have inspired several young musicians, even in a country like India. A lot of people look up to you, and you have
Yeah.
captivated so many people of different age groups in different parts of the world, right? So, what does music mean to you on a deeper philosophical level? How do you perceive its role in terms of the human experience?
Well, I think for me, music is first of all is a tool to express myself in the best way I can. Sometimes there are things that I cannot say with words, but I can say that with a guitar in my hands. So I feel sometimes I just feel more comfortable to speak with my music rather than speak with my language, you know, even in Italian. And in English, it's my second language, so I don't have the skills sometimes to really deliver the
Express.
message. Yeah, express myself or deliver the message in a clear way.
Mhm.
But when I'm with my guitar, I feel that the message I'm sending it's purer in a way. It's pure and it's clear, rather than just speak. That's because I think that especially instrumental music is an universal language, because you
Sure.
don't need to know the words in order to feel the song. You know, so for me, music it's a tool for self-expression, and it's art, of course. It's an art like it's painting, like is movies, you know, and sculpting and everything. Um, so yeah, for me, why I choose the guitar, I think for me, I was attracted to string instruments when I was starting, and you know, my father is also a guitar player, so it was really the first big influence.
Uh,
But you know, I always felt that you can say things with music that you can't really say with any other language. That's why it's so special for me. Yeah.
well, speaking of guitar, you've made it clear that it's your primary instrument and way of expression, right? Even if it were not to be words, you'd express a lot more through guitar, from what I gathered.
Yeah.
So, what deliberations and elements influenced your choice when you acquired your inaugural professional guitar? Was it the Yamaha Rev Star? Was it your first guitar?
Well, actually, my very first professional guitar was a Gibson SG. So I started with
Okay.
Gibson,
Okay.
and I remember that it was one of my favorite guitar. First of all, because it was small, you know, it was very portable, very
Mm-hmm.
light,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my very first influences were AC/DC actually, and Angus Young is
Oh,
very
right.
famous for
The
the
red
SG, you
guitar.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I fell in love with the SG first. And my very first SG was actually Echo. It's an Italian brand. And then I switched to Gibson when I was around 18 years old. And I think it was uh, a very good guitar, and I still play it sometimes. But now I mostly play my custom Rapstar. And the collaboration with Yamaha started in 2017. Yeah, so it's quite a while that I collaborate with Yamaha, and I was searching for a guitar that was very similar to the SG, tonally speaking, also. So a lot of mahogany and very dark sound, mid range, let's say. But I was searching for a guitar that was a little bit more versatile than the SG because I was interested in a lot of jazz stuff, and then I wanted a guitar that was also available for a jazz fusion setting, let's say, rather than just a pure rock setting.
You also play a lot of bebop.
Yeah. Also because I was at the conservatory back then, so
Correct.
I was studying a lot of bebop language and jazz standards. I think the Rapstar was the first solid body that I tried that was really reliable, both in rock elements and in jazz, bebop stuff elements. So it was kind of uh, the solid body I was searching, really. And tonally speaking, is really similar to the SG. They're not that far, but with the current Rapstar, you have also the 5-switch selector, so you can split the humbuckers, so you have a much wider variety of sounds. And that's why I chose the Rapstar back in 2017. And it's still my favorite solid body guitar.
And how is it in terms of maintenance?
Maintenance? You mean?
Maintenance in the sense, say for instance, in India, a lot of us face this difficulty because of weather conditions, right? So when we import guitars from a foreign country, the wood sort of, acts different in terms of different weather conditions. It expands, and there's a lot of things that people need to do in order to maintain the guitar.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have this issue with the Revstars. It's a really stable guitar, but I have to say that mine is a custom version of the Revstar. So it has a little bit of changes. So, for example, on the neck, inside the neck, you have the carbon fiber, and it's like one long carbon fiber piece that helps the guitar stay really solid. Even on bad weather conditions, I travel a lot, so there are places where it's very hot, places where it's very cold. So if you have a guitar that has carbon fiber inside, the guitar will be much very stable. And I did this with my custom Rapstar, and I also did this with the current Rapstars. I believe they're called the Rapstar Professional, and I also have the professional model. So this thing it helps if you have bad weather conditions, for example. But actually, I'm lucky because whenever I play the guitar, I stop, I immediately put it in the case. If you put it in the case, even if you have a lot of humidity at home, the guitar will not be much affected. If you have a good case, of course. But yeah, in any case, the Rapstars are really stable guitars, so I didn't really have this problem.
Okay. Because a lot of Indian musicians tend to face these problems when they import guitars.
Yeah, there are many ways there's also this roasted maple kind of wood. The roasted wood, they kind of bake the wood, so they eliminate all the water from it. And if there's no water, it will not move. But on the other hand, the wood will be not as strong as the wood with water. It will be a little bit more fragile. So there are pros and cons. There are a lot of different woods that can resist to the humidity, actually, but they also cost a lot.
Of course. And interestingly, you also endorse Baki guitars.
Yeah, I endorse Bachi guitars, but only for the baritones. So
Okay.
they only make baritone guitars. So I was able to do that because it is not in contrast with Yamaha, actually, because Yamaha doesn't make baritone guitars. So yeah, I was able to do that because I was searching for a rhythm guitar that was like a 7 string, but not a 7 string because I don't like the sound of the 7 string.
Right.
I think the baritone is way more natural sounding for me. So that's why I choose the baritone rather than just using a 7 string guitar. I mostly use the Bachi guitars for rhythm stuff, but you can also use it for soloing, But if you use it like from the 12th fret and beyond, it is just a normal guitar, And so it's better to use that as a rhythm kind of guitar, yeah.
Just a fundamental question, right? So when you have so many products in the market, when you have a wide range of guitars, you have over 100 brands. How do you pick the right one for you?
Well, it's hard. I'm still trying to figure it out, actually. So um, I think a good thing is remind yourself that you don't have to try everything because it's impossible,
Correct. Correct.
Once you have something that you're happy with it, just stick with it. I mean, otherwise, you will always search and search. And I believe that at the end of the day, gear is not that important.
Of course.
It's better to have like an 800 guitar, but studying a lot and being able to do things rather than have like 12,000 different pedals, but don't know how to use them. It's better to have less gear, but really know how to use that gear rather than have tons of different gear, but you don't really know how to use that. So I only had one pedal board, and I currently use the Line 6 Helix. And I know really well the Line 6 Helix, but I only have that pedal board on the stage. I prefer to use less things, maybe just one pedal board, just a bunch of pedals, but I have to know 100% about them.
But I believe you're talking in terms of the performance aspect, right? But if you have a repertoire which demands different sounds, especially a guitar player like you has like a very wide sonic palette where you try different sounds. So in those cases, say while recording your album, The Journey, you would have had multiple guitars into consideration, right? Or was it just one?
No, there were a lot of guitars actually. I mostly
Correct.
use my Rapster for lead soloing. So for most of the solos, I use the Rapster. But there were some pieces where I tried the Pacifica, for example. Silk Road
Yamaha.
is a perfect
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always it's the Stratocaster version of Yamaha,
Correct.
basically.
Correct.
Um, Then I tried some acoustic guitars, some of them from Yamaha, others from Martin or Guild, for example. So there were a lot of guitars. I consider myself really lucky because my father has a lot of guitars at home, and I was able to try them all. And especially for acoustic guitars, we have two Martins at home. We have one Yamaha also, one 12-string Guild, and I used the 12 string for some of the tunes just for rhythm stuff.
Okay.
So I experimented more with the rhythm guitars, but for the lead soloing part, I always stick to the Rapstar, sometimes to the Pacifica also, but they were just these two. So not many guitars actually.
Well, you've also been exposed to a lot of classical music, and I believe you've had your roots in terms of playing the classical guitar. What classical guitar would you recommend? Is it Cordoba or any particular brand?
Well, the Yamaha also has some good classical guitars, but actually the one I used the most was Ramirez. I think they are from Spain. I don't remember the model I use. I think it's a studio model, so it's not that it's not that expensive. But it sounds really good. The volume is great, and it's the guitar. It's the classical guitar I use the most. Not for the album, actually. On the album, I recorded the Yamaha guitar. I think it's called the CGTA model,
Okay. Okay.
and it's a classical guitar, but you can also record because he has a piezo in it.
Hmm.
So it's a very good guitar. But actually, the one I use the most in terms of just pure classical guitar is this Ramirez here. But I don't really remember the model name. But
Okay.
Ramirez is a very good brand to start, I think.
Got it. Got it. So I did stumble upon a couple of videos where you did your NAM, show for Bachi guitars alongside Tomo, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a fun little video that I stumbled upon. So, as a musician, what are some of the networking opportunities that you personally look for at a place like NAM?
Well, NAM is, I think, a very important thing to consider when you are at the NAM show is I suggest you try to play with most people as you can, because there are a lot of incredible players there. And I was, hanging around on different booths, and there were a lot of outstanding players.
Yeah.
Tomo is also a friend of mine, so I was happy to play with him
Hmm.
once more. Um, and there were a lot of things that you can do really at NAM show. There are a lot of incredible players. So I think from a opportunity standpoint, it's really important to play with other people. First of all,
Okay.
because you have fun, of course, and
Okay.
second, because you have a lot of incredible players there. And I was able to play with Tomo and also Cory Wong, thanks to
Yeah.
Bachi Guitars also,
Right. Right.
because they were able to organize that. So that's also what brands are doing at NAM. They organize stuff. What endorsements we have? We have Matteo and we have Cory. Maybe we can try to
Blend both of them.
organize something with them.
Yeah.
So it's important to also, when you are collaborating with a brand, you are also searching in a way to collaborate with the people,
Yeah.
with the endorser of this
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what happened with Bachi, actually. So that's why it was really helpful, especially this NAM was incredibly fun.
Let's talk about the topic of interest, your all new album. The journey, as your album title suggests, has that unfolded the way 10-year-old Matteo Mancuso wanted it to be so far? What has it been like? What has the journey been like?
Well, it was a long one, of course. And I started playing when I was 10.
Correct.
So I play since, and now I'm 27. So it's a long time that I play guitar.
Yeah.
I think the journey, because it represents all the styles and pretty much
Yeah.
all the music I was interested in
Yeah.
since the album came out.
Mhm.
So I wanted to do an album that wasn't associated with just one particular style. So that's why
Sure.
there are jazz tunes.
Yeah.
That's why there are more rock tunes like Drop D, for example.
Right.
Um, so that was my main goal. And also, because I was interested in so many different aspects of music and so many different styles, I wasn't able to do one album with just one direction,
Yeah.
because the journey has different directions. And that's what I wanted to do. It represents what I was and what I still am. So I don't want to consider myself just a rock player or a jazz
Sure.
player. I'm just a musician, So
Yeah.
that's why that's how the journey came out. That was the idea. Um, so yeah, I try to record everything in together with my trio. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of tunes where we were just together in the room. The most jazz tunes, well, for example, Polifemo and Blues for John, we were just together in the room, and that's how I think you can capture better the moment in the most jazz stuff.
Yeah.
And there are some other tunes where I used some, like I recorded rhythmic guitars first, and then I recorded the solo. It was more like pop produced, let's say.
Okay.
Like Drop D, for example, we recorded uh, bass and drum on the same room. And
Mm-hmm.
then afterwards, I recorded the guitars. So it was a little bit different because I had to record a lot of different rhythm guitars. But Polyphemo and Blues for John were recorded everyone in the same room
Same room.
because I prefer to do that on the most jazz tunes, I think.
Okay.
Yes. So that's how the journey came out, basically. Yeah.
Well, there is one particular tune that really caught my attention. There is a little
Yeah.
bit of an Americana influence in the song Open Fields. So
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to know, where did you draw inspiration for something like this? Was it the Pat Metheny influence?
Well, mostly, actually. Yeah. Pat Metheny. And there's one player that I really like. It's called Ralph Towner.
Yeah, of
And
course, of course. Yeah.
from Oregon, yeah.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I really like his classical guitar playing. I really like his compositions also.
Yeah.
So that's how Open Field started as a classical guitar composition, but then I recorded it with the electric guitar and with my trio. But actually, it was originally a solo piece.
Mm.
So that's how it came out, basically. And yeah, there are. It's a very good tune.
Of course it is.
There is also a rock twist at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
you also spoke a little bit about Blues for John. So was it a tribute to Mr. John Scofield?
It was actually a tribute to John McLaughlin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And John,
Right.
yeah, he's one of my favorite composer actually. And
Okay.
I like a lot of the work with Mahavishnu Orchestra and
All right.
his beat playing. Also, I
Yeah.
studied some of his licks.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to do a tribute to him. And yeah, that's
Lovely.
how it. Yeah.
Did he get to hear the track?
Sorry?
Did he get to listen to the track? Did Mr. McLaughlin listen
I
to
don't know. I hope so.
I will be talking to him someday, and I'll be sure to
Yeah.
play the tune for him.
Yeah, you can say that it's dedicated to him,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
yeah, of course, man. In fact, I was talking to L. Shankar, the violin player of Shakti, last week. Yeah,
Ah, wow, great.
yeah. We had a
Wonderful.
fun little conversation. He's doing a new tour in India with the percussionists of Shakti. So he's going to be traveling with Viku Ji and Selva Ganesh, the percussionist.
Wow, great.
Yeah. And talking about Ralph Turner, I mean, he's another guest I've been wanting to get on my show, and we almost had a show confirmed last year, and then he had a little bit of an illness, and he couldn't pursue it further, and he's not that comfortable with Zoom. So I need to
Okay.
figure a in-person interview with him someday.
Wow, okay.
I love some of his tunes with Paolo. He's done a lot of stuff for ECM Records. There's a duo collaboration with Paolo and Ralph.
Oh, wow, great.
Yes, marvelous masterpieces that they've created.
Yeah.
So with your first band setup, Snips, you focused on a lot of professionally recorded cover music for YouTube, relying more on instinctive, musical interests that your group had. So describe your interest and objective in terms of pursuing something like this.
Well, the first idea was that I actually was done with just playing with backing tracks,
Okay.
playing covers from other people, I wanted to do something was more personal. And that's how and I was viewing, of course, a lot of YouTube videos.
Correct.
And I always saw that people were more interested on like live sessions, live in studio sessions, rather than just the official video of the song.
Yeah.
So that's how I started to build the idea of doing like live session in studio with other musicians, because it's way more interesting for people to see just because of that. And it's way more it's way more fun to play, arrange something with other people, even if it's a cover. But it's way more fun to do that rather than just downloading the background track and playing just yourself. So I was already doing some covers on YouTube, and they were doing good, but I I knew, I came to know Ricardo and Salvatore, the first two members of Snips, and we started collaborating together. Actually, the idea was from the drummer. Salvatore had this idea to, why don't we record this tune and we play like some 100 BPM faster, and in fact, the first videos were at his studio, not mine.
Okay.
So the first tune I think was the chicken, and we started. It was
Jaco.
by Jaco Pastorius. I think it was the first video that blew up on YouTube. And then we were arranging a lot of popular jazz standards, like Spain, for example. We did a version of Spain. So it was my kind of first serious project, let's say. And then in 2020, I started to compose my own stuff. And that's when the Matteo Mancuso trio started. And then with that trio was just another direction, because I was only playing original tunes, not covers anymore. So that was the difference. Yeah.
Nice. With your permission, I'd like to play a sneak peek of Open Fields for the people of India.
Yeah, sure.
So, talking about natural talent, right? So, how do you navigate the balance between natural talent and dedicated practice? So, have you found yourself relying more on instinctive musical aptitude or disciplined training routines?
Well, I think right now you need to have a balance. I don't think that you can rely only on your natural talent. Otherwise, you will stop growing after a while. So in order to develop your instinct as a musician, you also have to work a lot. And that's how I develop my improvising skills. It's not just talent. I will not have this kind of proficiency with the instrument just with talent. It's also hard work, playing every day, try to learn new things. And so there are a lot of people that when they see a musician that is playing without effort, is playing really relaxed, and is playing a lot of fast things, they believe there is talent because it's not really, because they see it relaxed, they see him relaxed, but actually it's not that kind of relaxation is a byproduct of hard work and
Mhm.
studying a lot. And so I think you need to have balance. I think you also need to have a predisposition for music. I don't want to
Okay.
say talent, because of
Okay.
course talent exists, that there are a lot of people that are really talented, but
Yeah.
uh, there, there is also an incredible amount of work. And usually people that don't know music, they believe that it's only talent, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I other musicians, when they see someone really good at their instrument,
Yeah.
they know that there is a lot of work behind.
Right.
So I think you need to have both. It is a good mix of talent and artwork, and I believe that I began to study more once I discovered a lot of incredible players. Because when I was a little kid, I was aware that there were some things that were easy for me compared to my friends, you know. And so I was aware that I had this kind of talent with the guitar. But when I grew up and I listened to the other musicians, and I first listened, I remember the first time I listened to Eric Johnson,
Yeah.
I did not play for a week because it was traumatic for me. It was too good.
Yeah.
But then it was, you know, it was uh, a way of taking that inspiration and channeling it into practice and
Yeah.
motivation. So in order to, you know, motivate yourself, you need to listen to a lot of incredible musicians, and sometimes you don't only have to rely on just motivation to practice, but you have to rely also on discipline. So if you want to achieve a good level, you have to play every day. I think, yeah, a good balance will be to play 4 hours every day, and that's what I do most of the time.
Well, very often one might think, right? Like, so when they pick up an instrument, be it a guitar or a piano or whatnot, right? So they might they might not know certain techniques. They might not know where to start, right? So let's take bebop for example, right? So how did you learn bebop vocabulary? Was it more by active listening, or was it by the guidance of a teacher?
Well, it was mostly active listening actually. So I transcribed a lot of bebop vocabulary. People like Sonny Stitt, Charlie Parker, Coltrane, also, and you know, even guitar players like Joe Pass, Wes Montgomery, Django Reinhardt. Even if it's not bebop, but there are a lot of jazz elements in it.
Yeah.
And you know, all this kind of information began to transform by playing. Um, and that was because it was mostly active listening, but because I think in order to achieve something, especially if we're talking about improvisation, it's like learning a language. I mean, you can study English with books, you can study English by learning the grammar, but in order to really learn English, you have to listen people speaking it.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with bebop or with rock, with jazz, with whatever language you want to learn. It's exactly like learning a foreign language, actually.
Nice one. Nice take to it. Uh,
Yeah.
I have recently interacted with people like Scott Henderson, Steve Morse, and all of them had one thing to tell about you. So they said that you have, even though you're young, you can play like a really old cat, right? Like given the experience factor, right?
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah. So I wanted to know that how did you strategize all of these things? Because I saw your Rick Beato interview, and you're speaking about a lot about optimizing movement efficiency on your instrument, uh, intentionally prioritizing and refining your techniques. You had a certain way of picking, and then you modified it, to different settings in different ways, right? So I want to understand. Let's just talk about technique, right? With your instrument, did you strategize all of this, or it came off naturally to someone like you in your musical journey?
Well, the first thing that came naturally was the right hand technique. And I don't know why, but it felt natural to me just to play with fingers.
Okay.
And it's strange for some people because most of people, when they start electric guitar, they start with the pick.
Yeah.
But I actually started with the electric guitar and I started with the fingers. Many people think that I started with the classical because the way I play, but actually I started with the electric guitar. And another thing that wasn't actually natural for me was the economy of movement. When I started playing, I was doing a lot of movement with the right hand, and let's say that if I started playing like that, later on when I studying, I was playing more like that. Minimal movement in order to get also more speed. And that was the case also for my left hand. And
So that was
I
strategized.
think
Was that strategized? Is that what you're trying to say? The economy of movement
that
was
was more like the
okay.
economy of movement was a thing that I was aware that I was not doing well
Okay.
because I was doing a lot of unnecessary movements, especially with the left hand. So
Okay.
I started paying more attention to it, and that's how I improved also my technique. One thing that came natural was actually alternating with these two fingers. It's a
Yeah.
thing that just came natural to me, but I also had to work a lot on the synchronization between right and left. So it was always a matter of time, of course. I perfected my technique with time. But of course, there are some things that, for some people, there are some things that are easier. And
Of course.
for some other people, things are harder, And
Yeah, no, it was very, very fascinating to someone like me when I was observing the different ways or the different styles that you have, invented for yourself. In terms of trying out different settings. So I was very fascinated by that.
But I didn't invent them actually. It's a mix of already existent techniques,
Correct, correct.
It's
But it's very
my technique is
unconventional, very unconventional and like
it's
hybrid,
not
I would
very
say.
common to see it on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
electric guitar.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a rarity, at least in a country like India, because a lot of them go by the conventional techniques, and I haven't seen anyone do that. So, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So, in terms of the contemporary guitar music scene, how do you perceive the emergence of younger guitar players compared to yourself? Are there any young guitarists whose music you enjoy listening to and draw inspiration from at this point of time?
Yeah. There are a lot of exceptional players that I like to listen. There are a lot of players that I had the chance to listen live. I was really
Okay.
lucky to see them live. I really like Pliny, for example.
Oh, lovely.
He's
Nice.
he's an Australian player. I think he's
Yeah.
from Australia. Yeah. Um, I like very much his compositions. Some of his compositions are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And
Have you heard of Disperse?
yeah, I saw him live 2 times actually. One was in
Okay.
Milan
Okay.
for one of his concerts,
Okay.
and the second time was um, for an exhibition in Germany, I think, and he was
Nice.
doing a clinic.
Nice.
So I also saw one of his clinics. I think it was at the Guitar Summit in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I really like Matteo Sasato as a
Yeah.
player.
Yeah.
He's an incredible player, very soulful, very melodic. Um, so there are a lot of incredible players. Even the Bolivia guys, I really like Tim
Of
Henson. His
course.
style is
Of course.
it's pretty much something new. I never heard something similar. It's like a combination of
Sure.
some Tosin Abasi kind of
Correct.
techniques,
Correct.
and but on a different context.
Yeah.
So he's a very unconventional player, and
Okay.
there are a lot of players that I really like.
Have you
Yeah,
heard of
so
Jakub Zitiski?
yeah, I also saw
Yeah.
him live
Yeah, he
actually
was there. He was
because
there last week in my city.
yeah, because he was opening for Pliny. So the same
Oh,
concert
nice.
in Milan, he was there. And I also saw Jack Gardner live
Oh,
at the
lovely.
same concert. They were all
Yeah.
there. And yeah, he is also an incredible player. And I really like this Brazilian player. It's called Andre Nieri. And
Okay.
he's currently playing with Virgil Donati. And
Oh, lovely.
he, yeah, he's one of the guys that really can mix fingerstyle technique and pick technique, because I saw him playing a lot of arpeggios with his fingers
Hmm.
and playing alternate stuff with his pick. So he has an incredible technique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there are a lot of incredible players actually, and I the level right now rise a lot, raised a
Of
lot,
course. Of
and
course.
so
Very
there are a lot
competitive.
of yeah, yeah. There is also on the other side the dark side. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there are a lot of I mean, right now it's not that much, but there was a period that there were a lot of fake players on Instagram, for example.
Okay.
So this is the other side of the internet. Sometimes what you see is not really true, but for these guys, it's not the case, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you did mention the word fake musicians. So if I would ask you this question, when does music become corrupt for someone like you? What are the metrics, or how do you say that this is not right, this is corrupt, and this is wrong?
well, talking about videos, I think you don't need to. Uh, there's I have this idea that if you show something that you can't really do live,
Right.
and you are telling people, maybe you are selling lessons and you are showing people what you can do, but you're not telling them that you cannot do that live. You can pretty much do everything, but the important thing is that you don't lie to people, I think. And there was this kind of, especially on Instagram, there were a lot of fake players in a period, and now not so much. But there was a period that there were a lot of incredible players. But I don't want to say fake musicians, because
Yeah.
maybe they are also exceptional musicians as well, but they
Okay.
have some fake videos on their
Yeah.
profile.
Right.
But it's a thing that social media has also to offer, but I don't want to say, there are a lot of positive things about social media. So this
Right.
is really a small detail into
Of
a
course.
world of incredible players, because right now everyone has the capacity to do videos
Tools.
and
Yeah. Of
stuff.
course.
So that's why
Of course. How does spirituality inform your music?
spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, uh, I I don't consider myself a very spiritual guy, actually.
Okay.
But I get a lot of emotions playing, and I think that I'm sure there's something spiritual in it. Playing music with other people,
Okay.
it's something that I appreciate a lot. But you know, it is something associated with the soul, I think. So that's why you can call it spiritual in a way. So I like to think that way. Um, I think if when you exercise, maybe, and you are taking care of your body, for example, you go to the gym or you do sports, you are taking care of your flesh, let's say, of your human being as a body, and in order to take care of your soul, let's say, you
Yeah.
need to just listen to music, I think. So that's how I view that.
That is your take
There's
on
this
spirituality.
the spiritual way, I think, and you need to take care of both, actually. So in order to be healthy, yeah.
Nice, man. In fact, one of my first guests on this podcast from back in 2021 was Mark Lettieri, who
Oh
is
yeah.
a great friend of mine, and I covered the Snarky Puppy India tour in India. So
Oh wow.
I did a interview with Mark and Jason Thomas, the drummer. It was one phenomenal interview, and he's a great friend too, Mark. We've been talking for several years now. So you'll be touring
Yeah.
with him sometime in July. So I wanted to know, how did the two
Yeah.
of you connect, and how did the entire blues festival idea come about?
Well, it just happened actually. We weren't in touch. So
Okay.
my manager told me one day that you know that Mark Lettieri will play the same night that you will play. Oh wow, I didn't know that. So that just happened like that.
Okay.
They managed to. I think it was more the people from the festival, not
Okay.
us, that organized the
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
So that's how it happened, actually. I never saw Mark live, actually.
Oh,
So this
good. Okay.
will be the first time. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, man. So you've never seen Snarky Puppy live, I'm guessing.
No, no, I actually never saw Snarky Pop live. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. But yeah, this is gonna be one hell of a collaboration. I really wish I can make it and watch you guys live together. That'll be one dream come
Yeah.
true. Yeah, yeah. And you're also opening later in July for Marcus Miller.
Yeah. Yeah. The same month I will open for Marcus Miller.
Right.
And that will be an incredible gig, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great, man. I'm so happy that good things are coming your way. So, if I
Thank
may
you.
ask, of course, you're learning stuff, you're growing as a musician, but if you look at an end goal, do you have an end goal as a musician, or the journey is important for someone like you?
Well, I think an important thing for me is not really to have an end goal, an
Okay.
objective.
Okay.
Is more like enjoying the process,
Right.
and that's how I became more productive. Actually, I
Okay.
fell in love with the process of making music rather than wait until everything is settled and you have the album. I don't want to uh, wait for
Yeah.
more goals because
Right.
you will not arrive. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it is an endless journey actually. So because it's endless, you will not arrive, and that's how. And that's because it's important to enjoy the process first. And one thing that I would like to improve is my production skills. I
Okay.
would like to, know more about the recording process, how
Yeah.
to properly record acoustic guitars, how
Yeah.
to properly mic a drum. And I would like to, be more involved in the production process, let's say, for the next album. And, just be more productive with my writing skills. So I would like to compose more in the future, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But I don't have an end goal, let's say.
Okay. 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 Speaking of writing process, I've always wondered what might be the writing process for an instrumental guitar player. What is it like for you?
Well, it always starts with a little idea, actually, when I'm improvising, or it always starts with the guitar in my hands.
Okay.
And sometimes it starts without the guitar, but then the idea changes once I
Yeah.
have the instrument in my hand.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I start with a little fragment of an idea. Maybe it's a lick, maybe it's a chord, and then I build up to the song. I always try to find a theme that I like, a theme that is really memorable. Sometimes I think it's the hardest thing to do,
Yeah.
finding a melody that is really memorable.
Yeah.
Then when you find the melody, everything will become easier actually. But then I always try to have a complicated element and an easy element of the song, and that's how it works for me most of the time. Falcon Flight is the perfect example, talking about the journey, the album,
Yeah.
because it has a really simple melody over a more complex chord progression, let's say.
Yeah.
So that's how I would like to compose most of the time.
Since you mentioned Falcon Flight, I'd like to play a sneak peek of Falcon Flight for Indians out here.
Yeah, thank you.
In the interest of time, I'd like to come to the last part of our agenda, which is a very interesting rapid fire with Matteo Mancuso.
Rapid fire
Mm-hmm.
and will be.
It's a very short and quick segment where I ask you some very very light questions, and you have to be spontaneous with your answers. You can't think too much.
Okay,
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
try. Yeah.
Yeah. First question for you, Matteo. What is that one song that always makes you cry?
Well, Where Were You by Jeff Beck.
Great choice.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs from Jeff. Yeah.
On the contrary, what's your favorite guilty pleasure song?
Guilty pleasure song. I think Take It Easy by Eagles.
Oh, another great choice of a song.
Yeah.
What if you had to pick your 5 favorite bebop musicians? Who would they be?
Well, Bob Parker for sure, Bird, Sonny Stitt, Cannonball Adderley, their bebop, Wes Montgomery, even if it's art bop, and let's say the one of the modern ones, Chris Potter.
Oh,
even if it's not pure bebop, but he has a lot of bebop elements in it.
of course.
So yeah.
Nice, man. And what is your favorite cuisine?
Cuisine, let's say Italian, and Japanese is close second. I really, ramen is one of my favorite food. So
Nice.
let's say that Italian and Japanese.
What are the top 3 must-haves before Matteo Mancuso goes on a guitar tour?
Must have what you mean?
Like must-haves in terms of gear, or must-haves in terms of wardrobe? Like what are the top 3 things for you?
Well, a must-have will be an Helix floor for me.
Okay.
Just because it's so reliable, it's so comfortable to play, and you have everything in one place. You have amps, you have digital, everything. Even for people that don't like digital stuff, I think it's a must-have. Another thing would be a guitar and a laptop. That's it.
When can we expect Matteo's next solo album? What's a timeline like?
Well, honest answer, I don't know. I hope that by the end of this year, I will have something ready. But it's tough because I don't really have much time to, writing new stuff. I have something ready, but it's not a lot of stuff for the album, actually, for an entire album. So yeah, maybe by the end of this year. Yeah.
Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it. Maybe post the release, you can plan an India tour as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. If you had to describe your experience being on this interview, how would you describe it?
Well, exciting and funny, I think. I always have trouble speaking English when I'm in Sicily. I don't know why, but when I land in Palermo, my English skills downgrade by
you did really well.
50%,
Yeah.
So I always try to, deliver the message in the best way I can, but sometimes I can do it, sometimes not. But I hope my English was good enough.
It was great. It was great. It was great. One last question for you, Matteo. Down in the distant horizon, what would you like to be remembered as?
Well, I think the honest answer will be one of the best guitar players around.
Marvelous.
The really honest answer, I think.
Okay.
So, and maybe not just a guitar player, but as a musician, as a good musician. That's the honest answer. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. That was a great answer for a closure. This interview will be additionally aired on my Sunday primetime radio show on 2 fine radio stations in the northeastern part of India, Big FM Shillong and Big FM Aizawl, between 5 to 6 p.m. And it'll also be out on my YouTube channel Aditya Veera 1994. And it'll also be streaming at a later point on all audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, name it. So I'll be sure to share the link once this interview is out. It's been such an incredible blessing, honor, and a
Thank you.
privilege, my friend. Please do stay in touch, and I'd love to, talk to you and stay in touch with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
So take care and have a nice day.
Thank you, man. Have a nice day too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.